Exporting tracks, Pro Tools. Now our session here that we've ended up with after phase aligning our tracks is almost ready to export. Now the purpose for exporting the tracks is to prepare them to go to another platform, another type of program, maybe going to a digital hard disk recorder or going to an analog tape machine. And so what we're trying to do is the same thing we were doing in consolidating, making sure that everything starts and ends at the same time, but mainly starts at the same time. And in this session, since we did some changes, made some changes to the drum tracks, we need to repeat the process of consolidating once again. And this time we're going to give the name a little extra final at the end so that we can make sure that it's different than what we did before. So we're just going to put a little F at the end. And this session is pretty clean. Got most everything gotten rid of, but we're going to have a couple tracks, these ones that we're not using now because we just consolidated them. And so if we look in our regions list, we'll see that we have a couple of these tracks. So obviously we want hat F and kick F and all these ones with F at the end for final. But we're going to go through and select, holding the command key, we're going to select all those tracks that we don't want. This inverted track, because now it's consolidated, and our old snare top. And there we go. We'll hit Command Shift B for clear, and we're just going to remove them. And they're all there in the undo. If we hold Option and click yes, then it's going to say yes to all of these things. So right now what we have, and this should work, if we go through and select everything here, it should select all of our regions in our session. So what we have in our track view is what we have in our regions list. Now the important thing about doing this is what we can do now in Pro Tools, and this is the best way to do this. It's not only the best way to get your session ready to mix on another program, but it's also the best way if you're going to take your Pro Tools mix that you did and you're going to take it into a big studio and they're going to still use even Pro Tools. This is still the best way to prepare it and to make sure that you're not missing any files. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to do what's called Save Copy In. And Save Copy In has this great feature that lets you copy all audio files. And you can also actually change your sample rate and bit depth and even file type. You know, maybe you need to go to a different file type. You started with SD2 and you've got to get to WAV if you need to go to a PC system which doesn't support SD2. Okay, so there's lots of great features here. And you can even go with older formats. Maybe the studio you're going to, they have a lot of great stuff, a lot of great gear, but they're on an older version of Pro Tools, so you can actually convert your session to an older version. So we're going to hit OK, and it's going to ask us, where do we want to put this copy of Preparing to Mix Pro Tools? And I'm going to say I want to just go to the desktop and hit Save, and it's going to copy all of these files. So it's going through and copying every single file over to the desktop. And it's going to create a new session there, a copy session, has just those files in the audio files folder. So none of the multiple takes and stuff like that. So if we switch over and we jump over to Finder, there's our desktop, copy of Pro Tools, copy of Preparing to Mix Exporting Tracks Pro Tools, there's our session file and our audio files folder. And if we look at this closely, we'll notice that these should be identical to the tracks here in our Pro Tools session. And of course, the stereo tracks are expanded here and they're .L and .R, but everything looks good. So that's exactly what we want. So we take this, and if we wanted to, we could grab these tracks right here and we can throw them into Logic or to GarageBand, to Sonar, to any of these other programs, and the format they're right now, they're WAV files, they're 24-bit, they're 44.1, they're compatible with all of those programs. So we can just grab these, and the beautiful thing is they all start at the same point. They start at the beginning of the session, so we can just butt them up to the session, and we're ready to mix. And so that's how you export tracks from Pro Tools.